So for our first question today, what do I have to pay for a realtor?
It depends on what you want to do.
So I'm looking to buy a home.
Okay, if you work with a buyer's agents are free.
Buyer's agents are free?
Right.
Okay, so on the flip side of that, what do I have to pay to sell my home?
It's a great question, actually. So on our team, we actually have a flexible commission plan. So it really it depends on what you need. If you've got a buyer in mind, you already know who wants to buy your home. We'll obviously be able to help you out on either both sides of the transaction, or just discount our commission so that it makes financial sense for you. If we don't have to market the home and do all the things that we need to do, we'll be able to help you out with commission that way.
Awesome. So what comes in with the commission? What am I paying for?
That's a great question too. So realistically, in Pennsylvania, how we do it, if let's just say your commission was 6%, that's usually going to get split between buyers and sellers. And what I mean by that is that, again, like David said, if you're working as a buyer and you want representation, there would be no reason not to, right? Because the buyer doesn't technically have to pay for the agent; it's free. In Pennsylvania, the sellers pay for the buyers. So 3% of that, in most cases, will go to the buyer's agent. The sellers will come out of their commission, or the commission would then be shared with the buyer's agent. The 3% that you pay for my services as a listing agent goes towards your marketing efforts, your staging, we really do tailor your marketing plan to get your home sold for the highest and best price, because ultimately that's the goal.
Fantastic.
The
So
important thing to remember is that if you're working with a buyer's agent, their compensation is determined prior to the house being listed. So this is an agreement that is made between the seller and the agent representing the seller. So it has nothing to do with the agent you pick to represent you, nor do they have control over what they get paid. It's published in the MLS. It's a non-negotiable.
So for a buyer agent,
yeah,
do you feel like you might steer your clients in one way or another based on the MLS contract?
No, I would never sacrifice what a client wants in a house. If there is some sort of discrepancy in what the listing agent is offering to a buyer's agent, I might bring it up to the buyer and say, look, this is what's happened here. Personally, I don't really nitpick that. Whether it's 2.5%, whether it's 3%, whatever it is, I provide the same service. There are some discount brokers out there that offer significantly less, in which case I bring it up to the buyer and I say, look, I provide excellent service. I provide excellent service. This is what I expect to have paid. This is what we're going to do. I try not to make it come out of the buyer's pocket because I don't feel that's fair. So I present something to the listing agent and say, with this agreement of sale, you need to change the compensation to this.
Sounds great. So the next question then is, and one of the most popular questions in the world as far as real estate goes, besides the down payment, what other fees are there?
Again, for a buyer or a seller, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
So you can probably speak to the buyers. It's probably the bigger question.
Right. So in addition to down payment, everybody thinks about the 20% down or whatever that percent is. I think it's important to understand you don't need 20%. You can do 5%, you can do 3.5% with the type of financing. Some organizations even offer 3%. So in addition to the down payment, you're going to have closing costs. I generally use, in the state of Pennsylvania, in the area that we work in, I would use an estimate of 4.5% to cover any kind of closing costs. And closing costs involve your title fees, your transfer tax, escrows for the lender if you're financing. It's going to cover reimbursements to the seller because they're going to have paid taxes through the end of the year, and you pay them back for taxes that they've paid after you own the house. And then also there's inspection costs, and inspection costs can vary anywhere from about $600 to probably going on $2,000 if it's a stucco home, if it's on septic or on well. So if you budget for 4.5%, that should cover the closing costs, and those are the additional costs.
Fantastic. So,
Do you want to know what to sell?
sure.
Let me
wanna
tell you
tell us?
what to sell.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, if we're talking, right, that's what we want to know. So
Right.
for a seller, like David, we roughly estimate it to be a little bit over 7%. So if we're doing a 6% commission plan, that's a full marketing. We're doing all the staging, all of those things to get you the highest and best price. 6% is the commission. 3% will go to the buyer's agent. 3% to our team, and then of course there's a 1% transfer tax that David talked about. So buyers and sellers split the 2% total to 1%, and then just some small additional fees are usually in there. Maybe a wire fee when we're going to wire your funds to your mortgage company to pay that off. They're usually pretty minimal, so it's easier for me to kind of break it down. It's a little bit harder for a buyer's agent.
Now that's primarily talking Pennsylvania.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
if you
Generally.
cross the state line to Delaware, transfer tax is a little bit different. So if a buyer's buying in Delaware, seller selling in Delaware,
And there are some
That's
counties
amended.
in Pennsylvania, actually. If we look at some media, for instance, there's parts of media where the transfer tax is a little bit higher, but you can kind of
we cover those on
Ballpark
an
it.
individual basis.
Absolutely. So if you have any individual needs, feel free to reach out to our team. So next question, and this is more for David. How can you detect a good deal?
Define good deal.
Something where the buyer feels like they're getting the best value for them.
Well, that's going to be very dependent on the buyer. I mean, it's and that's one thing that I always ask. What's most important to you here? Is it the bottom line price? Is it the ability to move right in without doing any work? Is it being in a very specific location? So every buyer is going to be different. So it's hard to generalize what a good deal is. I would say though, in general, the best deals are had on properties that are in the least desirable condition. So it's not foreclosures that are best deals, not short sales that are best deals. It's the condition of the property is directly related, in general, to the best deal possible. So those buyers out there that are looking to do some sweat equity and to do some improvements, those are the ones that end up being triumphant.
Absolutely. So, Deneen, this question is more for you, and this is a question from Realtor.com, and it's a big advice piece. So,
Okay.
is it better to price high or low in the beginning?
Yep. Good questions. So it really, again, kind of like David, you're really going to have that conversation with the seller and find out really what's their motivation. At the end of the day, what are they looking to get? Are they looking to get the highest price? Are they looking to move quickly? All of those factors are going to kind of play into what that marketing plan is going to look like. So there's lots of ways to price a home. Realistically, it's always going to be as close to where we think we're going to land, if you really think about it. But can you start a little bit higher? You can, but you really want to use us, our team, or a really good listing agent who is able to interpret what's going on in the market. So what does that mean for the seller? How can we best get them the highest and best price? It's almost always going to be in the shortest amount of time. And some sellers aren't comfortable with having a little bit of a window as far as a gap, I guess, between what they think they're going to sell for. You can do that. Generally, it's going to take a little bit longer if you overprice your home. And then we're really going to look at what they're trying to do.
Absolutely. So, how important is price in the grand scheme of things?
For a seller?
For a seller.
It's everything. It's everything. I kind of use in all of my consultations, there's 3 reasons a home sells or doesn't sell. Marketing, it's kind of our job. Location and how the home shows. And lastly, it's going to be price. It's always going to be price. I call it strategic pricing. You can price on certain price points, but realistically, the homes that go under contract in the first 30 days will sell between 96 and 100% of what they list for.
Wow.
So if it's any longer, it's going to take a little bit longer, and it's probably going to eat away at your equity.
What's very interesting, though, is looking at it from the opposite side. And recently, I had buyers looking into a house that was just on the market 2 days, and the price seemed higher than it should be. However, there were no other houses like it in the area, in the school district that they wanted, that fit. So the buyers rationalized that this is the only house out there. We really don't have a choice. Let's offer this and get it. So I think that's a unique situation, but I think you also have to consider the inventory too, because I think that's gonna suddenly impact what the value is of a house. Now, it doesn't mean it'll appraise. It doesn't mean you're going to run into problems down the road, But I think it's very dependent upon a lot of different things, right?
We've been talking about it all year. Low
Yeah.
inventory has really helped sellers, made it a little more difficult for buyers to really find that home. So
Right.
on both sides of it, buyers have had to be prepared to come in with really good offers, and
Mhm.
sellers have had a little bit more leeway on their pricing. And if there was no inventory in a specific neighborhood that we know is desirable, that people want to be in, we're gonna get those offers pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
And
So,
it's always gonna bounce out. I always say in a low inventory market, you can't underprice your home. It'll always self-adjust. The market will always self-adjust, right?
Yeah.
If you overprice your home, it'll cause it not to sell.
Well, this particular house, out of the 5 comps, 3 of them sold over list price. So it's very interesting how the market does adjust itself. You know, so houses priced one thing will sell higher price if there's a buyer out there that's willing to pay it.
absolutely. So, David, this question is more for you.
Okay.
Deneen just mentioned that it's a seller's beneficial market right now.
Right.
Why should buyers be buying?
Buyers should be buying because if they don't already own a home, the best thing to own investment-wise is a home. You need a place to live, you might as well be paying yourself instead of somebody else's rent. It's just a good time to buy. Interest rates are probably the primary reason. They're still super low. You can borrow money for next to nothing compared to if you look at history. Look at the last 20 years. You know, it's still very, very low. I mean, 4% interest rates are incredible. So, other than that,
And
those are the two
waiting,
main
I mean,
reasons.
if you wait, interest rates as they
Yeah.
go up, right? Your
Yeah, you don't know
affordability,
what's going to happen.
your affordability drops.
Right.
I always use the example for, especially for sellers, that if a buyer's looking at your home and you're listed at $300,000 in, say, spring market, right? And interest rates go up a point. We're at 4 now. Let's just say by December it goes up to 5. Well, the same buyer who was looking at your home in April and May and chose not to buy, but decided to wait until the end of the year, well, now they can only afford a $270,000 house. They lost that equity because the interest rate went up a point. It doesn't happen like that, but it could. So realistically, the longer you wait, the interest rates go up, your affordability drops, assuming all other things being equal.
And I think what happens in a seller's market, and when buyers hear that it's a seller's market, is they feel like they're going to have to overpay, and that's not the case. And nobody has to overpay for a house, and I mean that's completely against my sort of DNA is to have a buyer overpay for a house. Like I'm wired to get them the best deal. So it's about understanding that you pay market value. So you're not necessarily going to get the best deal possible on a brand new listing that shows great, it's in a great area and a great school district. I mean, you're just going to pay market value in it. That's all you're going to do. Again, if you go to that condition thing, if you're willing to do the work, sometimes the properties that are in less desirable condition, you can have a better price. But there's never a reason to overpay. And if you have the right buyer's agent, they can guide you on how to get the best possible price.
Absolutely. Deneen, do you feel that way as well? Best
Absolutely.
buyer agent can help get the best price?
I mean, it really, again, it'll come down to that affordability. And look, in most cases, buyers are getting a mortgage.
Mhm.
And if they're getting a mortgage, it's going to have to appraise.
Mhm.
So it doesn't mean that organically you have to overpay for a home, because if it's that much more than what homes in the area have sold for, it's not going to appraise. And you're going to end up back at market value no matter what. Again, when we talk about the market will always self-adjust. Market, financing, all of that comes into play. So yeah, you just don't. I mean, have we seen this year with the low inventory, higher price points? Yep. But nobody's overpaid for a home.
Right.
So this question is 2 separate answers. One is for Deneen on the selling side, and one is for you on the buying side.
Okay.
The question is what to avoid doing when you're selling a home. So for you,
Easy.
you're going to answer that from the listing perspective. You're going to answer that more so, I've walked into a house and seen this.
Okay.
Don't do this.
Got it.
I'll start overprice your home. It's probably it's the biggest thing that you can do. And again, going back to how do we price homes? It's always going to be directly proportionate to what are the homes in the area. What are they going for? What's your competition, which is the active listings, pending, which are probably a little more accurate because they're the homes that were just on the market. So we look at how quickly did they go under contract, and then your solds. So we're going to look at those items, and then we're going to compare you to that. Your square footage, your condition, your location. Are you on a hill? Do you have a steep driveway? Do you have a great backyard? All of those things will factor into your price. If you overprice, it's going to take you longer to sell your home, and that's just it's the biggest pitfall. And certainly we'll talk you through. My job is to be your consultant when you list with us. So we're going to help you figure out what that help. Really, my goal is always to help you self-discover, right? Help you figure out what is the right price for my home. And then I can give you some helpful tips. Our listing agents are really great at going through the home and telling you this is something that's going to bring you value, right? Painting this room or new carpets or all of those things. We're going to help you figure out how we can maximize the best price for your home and help you self-determine.
Sellers shouldn't be at the house. That's number one.
That's true.
Nobody wants a tour. Nobody, it's just not. It's not comfortable. Buyers are there to see a house, not your house. So it's important to really neutralize the house to a degree as well. So take out a lot of your personal things. Make sure the house shows itself rather than shows your contents and your belongings and your family.
Yep.
Buyers don't want to see that necessarily, and sometimes they get distracted by it, which isn't good. Don't put in air fresheners. That first thing buyers say is, "What are they
Smells
covering
like apple
up?"
and cinnamon.
Right. What are they covering up? So just clean your house and make sure it's clean. That's simple. Other than that, you can leave cookies and water on the counter. That's nice too. That's good.
Cookies, all the goodies.
Cookies and water.
David loves his
Yeah.
cookies.
Yeah. Buyers always love that.
Cookies.
Fresh baked cookies, nice.
It's awesome.
Yeah, if you want to if you feel like you need to fill the air with a good smell, bake cookies or brownies before a showing. You don't need
Or
to
something
air
in the crock
fresheners.
pot. That actually, it's funny how that works. People walk in like, oh my gosh, this smells like home.
Right.
So
There you go. Little tip.
Yeah.
So that is really it based off of the real estate related questions that we have. Just to get to know you guys a little bit better.
Okay.
Couple things. Do you guys have any kids?
He is the cutest one ever.
yes,
Sorry,
we have a little
kids.
boy, 17 months old. So yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I have, 2 grown and 1 almost grown. I have a 24-year-old son who's getting married in just a couple of weeks, a 23-year-old, and a 15-year-old. So 2 boys, 1 girl. Both boys in and out. They're both vets, in and out of the military. And my daughter, I'll survive her. She's great. She's awesome. She is. She's a good girl.
That's awesome. So here is a little bit of a unique question, and I don't
Surprise
know
question?
if you guys
Uh-oh.
saw it on
No,
the
I don't
no.
think we did.
Okay, so the question is, if you could be any color, what color would you be and why?
Any color.
Any color.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yellow, because it just makes me happy. And I always want to be happy. I want people to be happy. I'm a people pleaser, so yellow.
I feel like I'd be blue. Everybody looks good in blue. I don't know. I mean, I
Hence
feel like.
the
Hence the
Yeah,
blue
right, I guess so.
today.
That is my favorite color, so I guess that's just the one I'd pick.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any pets?
A dog and a cat.
Dog and a cat?
Yes.
Names?
Buster and Zoe.
Which one do you like better?
Zoe.
Zoe?
The
Well,
cat.
you a cat person?
Yes.
Okay.
Buster's sweet. He's great. I'm just not a dog person.
Fair.
Well, then he won't like my dogs because I have 2 Yorkies, 1 and 2, and we just got our 8-week-old golden retriever.
Ooh, how's that going?
So it's actually going way better than the 2 Yorkies that we've had for 2 years. So it's going. He's adorable. He's a really good dog.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
So before we wrap up our first session, I'm going to leave the floor open for the 2 of them to just leave any ending remarks that they want to give to you guys, and then that'll be it for this first episode.
Awesome.
I'm having a little guilt about liking the cat better than the dog. Because I feel like I just lost half the audience. I still do love the dog.
Yes.
It's not that I
Buster's
don't
the
love
best.
the dog.
He's good.
Of course, Ollie's taken the lead of anything in the household. But anyway, so I think from a real estate standpoint, I think if you're looking to buy a house, it's really fun to go look at houses. It's really fun to go look at model homes, new construction communities. It's really fun to jump right in before you really know how to swim. The best advice I can give is if you're considering buying a house, start interviewing agents. Find the right agent to represent you. It doesn't matter. If the agent's worth your time, they're going to give you the time to make the decisions and be there for you every step of the way, even as you have questions and as you're exploring. That's what matters. So just find the right agent to work with. It's the best decision you'll ever make.
Yeah, I kind of have to copy off of you. I mean, I do think that it's really super important to interview your agent. Make sure that you're asking all the right questions. For us, it's about being flexible and making sure that we're helping you. Anybody can put a home in a multiple listing service, take some good photos. I think what we do really well on our team is really you're hiring a consultant more than anything, is to really kind of talk you through the process and give you the most helpful hints on how to maximize your potential on the market. And like David, interview your agent, and I always hesitate in saying if you think you're going to sell 5 years from now, you still can start talking to an agent. I'm happy to, give you some helpful hints. When you start getting serious about it, give us a call. We'll come out, we'll walk through the home and give you those hints, give you that honey-do list. And again, talk to you about the market. I think, being your consultant and knowing is now a good time. I get that question all the time. In most cases, my answer is going to be, yeah, this is the best time because this is what I know of the market. But maybe, we know something otherwise. But, just interview your agent. Just know who you're bringing into your house to do a really, really good job for you.
And to represent you in the biggest transaction you'll have.
Yeah, I mean, we focus a lot. We talk about it all the time, but our goal is to create raving fans, and most of that is going to happen through a really good transaction. They're not all going to be perfect, right? It's people and it's real estate. We say this all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not all going to be perfect. But our goal is to consult you through the process, stop any surprises that we can before they happen, and get you over the finish line.
Awesome. That's great. So.
All right.
Any questions? Feel free to reach out to us. Both of their contact information will be at the end of this video. And we'll be doing these live from this point forward. So we look forward to seeing those in the future. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.